I am feeling a little bit better this morning, though still dragging getting out of the tent. I'm leaning towards doing the low route still. Apparently both routes have their struggles. There's all the down trees and the snow up high, which was still an issue when somebody went through about a week ago. The alternate looks like it goes through some flood damage, so it's saying it has some really slow going, scrambling in and out of a couple of drainages, but eh. Well, looks like the road isn't completely closed. I heard trucks coming by earlier and somebody said to back down. So it's funny, I was talking to Snapper, Sprouts, and Colonel Mustard in Alma, and we were talking about some of the alts and kind of how this trail works. And I admitted that the CDT left me with this big kind of bias against alts. My impression going into the CDT was it was a choose your own adventure, like, okay, you know, go in the canyon or go on the top of the peaks, that sort of thing. Where when I was actually going through it, in most cases, it seemed like it was more of a matter of, do you do the red line or do you take a far easier shortcut? Versus out here, it seems like there are actually pluses to a lot of the alternates. That Aravaipa High Country, for example, I've really enjoyed. And it mostly seems like the alts, if anything, they might avoid some problematic terrain like early season snow, but they usually add a couple of miles or, 12 plus miles in that high country Aravaipa bypass. And obviously a trail like this, there's not as much dedicated trail crew work as something like the National Scenic Trails. So it looks like in a couple of cases, as a trail got damaged, he's rerouted it to other trails and then found out that such and such trail was maintained while this other one wasn't and moved it again. There has been at least one bypass I saw, which was avoid the entire mountain range by walking this dirt road around the entire thing. And that sort of thing I don't want to do. The thing that gets me about this one is I generally really like high routes. I love climbing and I love expansive views. Did I mention the high route was extensively burned a couple of years ago? So I'm already up at about 9,600 feet. Meaning the high point is only 1,100 more feet. They really did invest in a lot of these signs, though. Snow will last longer in shaded patches, obviously, but it also accumulates on the northern aspects just because of the angle of the sun and everything due to the season. So sometimes you can climb up on bare dirt on the southern side only to have a real issue trying to descend the northern side. Man, trail crews have been busy though. Well, this explains the road closed sign, I guess. Oh, that's nice. So now that it's May 2nd, I've been out here for a month and a half since starting, the Arizona Trail. And I did get an exciting piece of news. Of course, Jen and I are paddling the Mississippi starting June 3rd, and she just paid off the boat. We basically had a deposit down on it, and a river angel is actually going to grab it from Boundary Waters for us and bring it to Itasca, which is saving us quite a big loop. Originally, we were going to have to drive up to Itasca, go over to Boundary Waters, get the boat, bring it back, drop off the boat, drop off the rental car, hitch back to the boat, that sort of thing. So that's the upper part of Mineral Creek down there, and apparently a couple of weeks ago when some hikers came by, the rangers were actually recommending to use that versus come up here and then rejoin up ahead. I do love inexplicably placed out houses. Gotta love those views. So I've been up above 9,000 feet all morning. Currently this is about 9,700. Civilization. This is marked as Willow Campground. Well, this looks to be a good sign, at least for this section. And there's the trail crew. Hey there, little guy. The little ones don't run away as fast. So I've noticed every time I come in and or out of the river, there's hundreds of these little spiders around. They basically run around in the rocks. They blend in, but you can see them move off and on. Okay, I'm about 16 miles in, and it's a little before 5 o'clock. I'm basically at the junction between Turkey Creek and Iron Creek. And apparently this next section has had really bad flood damage where the trail's pretty much obliterated. So there is an alternate to an alternate that adds another 1.5 miles, but supposedly avoids the worst of the damage. I've really loved this section down by the river through the trees. Reminds me of the southern end of the Sierra. So this alt reroute looks like it stays high and dry. So I've actually got my full water capacity with me just so I can stop in another 4 or 5 miles or so. Well, there's something I haven't seen in a while. Rain. I think that might be the most people I've seen since I started this year. Boy Scout troop, probably, or a trail crew. I love trail crews. I really love trail crews that give me food. So those guys were out here building trails, and per them, there is a unofficial outfitter trail that's been built down this next canyon. So I'm going to do that instead of going over the Jerky Mountains, which is a little longer. Those guys were both really fun to talk to, and they gave me vegetarian beans and a tamale, which was kind of awesome. Because I am going through my food a bit much today, and it's only 6, so I'm probably hiking another 2 hours. So one of the guys in that trail crew said he'd actually been down this use trail with a horse today. He promises I'll be able to make it through, so we'll see. Well, this is a little worse than I was promised. So the trail pretty much disappeared into that field, so I'm now cutting down into the canyon. Oh well, it's what it is. So I don't actually know where the bad part is, but this looks better than what I'm on. Okay, it's a bit after 7. Hopefully I can push through this to the next non-burn area. This is looking kind of nasty. This is getting freaking annoying. I was kind of in a hurry due to the fact that I was losing daylight, but there were actually a lot more segments similar to this where I was having to scramble up and down this kind of eroded rock and hillside to make progress. Okay then. That was actually the first bear I've seen since being out here. Lots of tracks and lots of scat on earlier sections of this trail in the AZT, but they're such cool creatures. This isn't the greatest campsite I've ever been in, but it works, and it's going to be dark soon. That last bit on the Narrows, there was absolutely nothing, and I don't want to be out after dark, so home sweet home.